My name is Sharon Thomas, and I'm the director of MAIA Education Resource Center, a place where families can come and get advice regarding their child's education. We provide tutoring, school placement, and workshops. I was born in São Paulo, Brazil. My parents, my father was British, my mother is Brazilian, and my earliest recollections of growing up in Brazil were really magical. It was about being part of this big family that was rowdy and loud, and having a father that was very British and wanted things to be very calm and as much as possible silent. And that taught me to navigate differences at all times, because the behavior expected from my father was so different than the behavior expected from my family members, Brazilian family members. And I think that that's where I really gained an appreciation for diversity and for really looking at why people think the way they think and why do they do the things that they do. Certainly coming from another culture that is so different, different climate, different way people interact, different way people help or don't help each other, was enriching. It was also a challenge. Coming into a school environment in Princeton, New Jersey in the early 80s from São Paulo, Brazil, was a particular challenge, because for the first time I really felt like nobody had any interest in me or where I was coming from. And I think that first I had to learn to assimilate very, very quickly, and that entailed losing my British accent right away, because I was a child and I didn't want to feel singled out or bullied. But what it did for me was really to have the strength to stand up when I saw that others were not being treated respectfully. And throughout my life, I tend to be a person in groups that people will turn to for advice, or will turn to for help with assimilating members of the group if there's any kind of divide. With a name like Sharon Thomas, blonde and blue-eyed, you wouldn't suspect that somebody coming to the US would necessarily suffer the kinds of prejudice that I was suffering as a child. And because of that experience, I can really understand what it feels like to be an outsider and not treated respectfully, and not having people wanting to share lockers with you because you're from this weird country, this weird place. Being questioned in silly ways. Did you ever drive a car, or were you driven to school, or did you take a boat? The kinds of questions that truly are both feel offensive and also didn't make me want to necessarily push further in terms of the community and friendships. So I really get it when somebody feels like the outsider in a community. And I think the way to dispel that outside notions is by bringing people to the table to talk, rather than saying to them, don't say these things, because it doesn't really help to make them feel closer to one another.